Hello grown-ups. Are you already starting to think about the summer holidays and how to keep the kids busy? Yeah, I thought you might. Today's podcast is brought to you by Kellogg's Football Camps, a brilliant solution for families looking to keep kids active, having fun and building confidence this summer. With camps for girls and boys aged 5 to 15, Kellogg's are offering over 39,000 free places at sessions hosted by over 70 pro football clubs across the UK. From Colchester to Cardiff, Glasgow to London. It's a great chance for kids to get out, to play football and make new friends over the summer break. To book a free place, just buy a promotional Kellogg's Football Camps pack and scan the QR code to choose a club near you. T's and C's apply, subject to availability.
Back Market is the best place to get the tech you need for back to school, for less. Like professionally refurbished smartphones to take those first day pics.
Mom, your finger's blocking the camera.
Or so they can ask you to buy a poster board for the science fair tomorrow. No matter what you need it for, the premium refurbished tech on Back Market is guaranteed by the Back Market Promise. Professionally refurbished with a 1-year warranty and free 30-day returns. Save now at backmarket.com.
To the Football for Kids podcast with me, Darren Rees, and welcome to a brand new episode on the life and story of a player who, as I record this today, will go into a World Cup final on the 19th of July in the USA and represent his country of Spain. He's also a player, as I record this today, who is the third highest on the Golden Boot list for the 2026 World Cup. He's a Real Sociedad legend, a La Liga powerhouse, and one of the top footballers on the planet. Of course, in this episode, we're going to be speaking about no other than Mikel Oyarzabal. Before the roar of the packed stadiums, there was a clang of machinery. Before the spotless football boots, there were steep streets, busy workshops, and the hard-working heartbeat of Eibar. Eibar is an industrial town in Spain's Basque Country. It sits beside the river Ego, squeezed between the surrounding hills. For generations, it was a place where people made things with their hands. Metal was cut, machines rattled, and factories filled the town with noise. It was not the sort of place where success simply floated through an open window. In Eibar, you worked for it. And it was here on the 21st of April 1997 where Mikel Oyarzabal was born. Long before anybody sang his name inside a stadium, he was simply Mikel. His family would become one of the great anchors of his life. Years later, after the medals, the goals and the international fame had arrived, Mikel would explain that his parents, his education, his old friends and his own young family were the people who gave him stability. Football may well have eventually become a huge part of his world, but it would never be allowed to become his entire world. And football wasn't even the first sport which he tried. At school, in Eibar, the young Mikel took part in judo and swimming. Imagine the two completely different worlds. In one, the slap of bare feet against a mat, bodies twisting, gripping and tumbling. In the other, the splash of water, the echo around the pool, and the steady rhythm of one length after another. Judo, swimming, balance, movement, discipline, things which would help Mikel later on in life. But somewhere beyond the mat and the swimming pool, a football was waiting for him. And once Mikel began chasing it, it became very difficult to make him stop. Even then, however, he was not the loudest child in the room. One of his former teachers later remembered an 11-year-old Mikel as being polite, sensible and remarkably mature. He worked hard, he treated people respectfully, and he did not appear interested in making himself the centre of attention at any point. There was talent at his feet, that was certain, but there was no great performance around it. No swaggering around the school corridors, no announcing to everybody that he was going to become famous and become one of the best players on the planet. His teachers remembered a boy who was discreet and consistent, someone who understood that being gifted did not give him the permission to stop working. And stop working is something he has never done. The quietness would remain with him. Years later, when thousands of people were screaming his name, Mikel would still carry that same calm schoolboy from Eibar feeling. Away from the classroom, the ball came alive. Mikel played football with his friends in the town square. Listen closely, and you can almost hear it. Trainers scraping across the ground, the ball bouncing off walls, children shouting in Spanish at somebody and saying that was not a goal. There were no television cameras then, no commentators, no enormous electronic scoreboards, just a group of mates, a patch of space and a football that kept rolling back to the middle. And while Mikel was learning the game in Eibar, another wonderfully gifted left-footed player was appearing for the town's professional football club. His name was David Silva. Silva belonged to Valencia, but during the 2004-2005 season, he actually played on loan at SD Eibar. Mikel was still a primary schoolboy at this point, watching a young footballer who seemed to be able to see passes before everybody else could see them coming. Silva was not enormous. He did not charge around knocking over defenders. Nope, he slipped through spaces, controlled the ball beautifully, and made difficult football look almost weightless. He became one of the players which Mikel completely and utterly admired and looked up to. A future Spanish international playing in Eibar, inspiring another future Spanish international who was growing up in the very same town. And I say that because football at times does something where it brings a beautiful circle and makes two worlds collide. Because many years later, Mikel and David Silva would not merely meet, they would play together. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. For now, Mikel's journey was only beginning. He started playing organised football with his hometown club, SD Eibar. There were training sessions, proper matches, and coaches beginning to notice that the quiet boy possessed a very special left foot. Then, at the age of 14, he left Eibar's academy and joined Real Sociedad. It was a major step in his football journey. The boy from a little industrial town was heading towards one of Spain's most respected football academies. But he was not leaving Eibar behind. The streets, the school, the friends, the lessons, the memories, they were all coming with him. He left the familiar streets of Eibar and joined the academy of Real Sociedad, and to be fair, the pitches were greener, the training was sharper, and every single touch mattered a little bit more. Around him were very talented boys chasing the same distant dream, to join the first team, to play in La Liga. Mikel climbed quietly through the age groups. During the 2013-14 season, he returned to Eibar on loan to play youth football before heading back to Real Sociedad. Then came a leap into the rougher, louder world of reserves. In November 2014, he was just 17 years old. He made his debut for the Real Sociedad B team, which go by the name of Sancer. Boots thudded, tackles snapped, and grown men thundered towards him. But the quiet boy from Eibar did not disappear. Oh no, not a chance. His enormous UK size 12 boots had helped him earn the nickname of Bigfoot, a name which has stuck with him even today at 29 years old. And I guess that nickname really suited him, not just because he had size 12 feet, but because he was really leaving his very large footprints behind everywhere he went, and those who watched him or played football with him couldn't stop thinking about the talent which they had seen. Now, most young footballers finish morning training, head home, and then put their feet up and watch the television. Not Mikel. When the whistle stopped blowing at Real Sociedad, another challenge began. He would leave the training pitch, open his books, and study business administration at a university. Mikel even shared a student flat with 3 classmates. They helped by passing him notes and working alongside him whenever football matches and journeys pulled him away from university. Imagine it, his boots drying by the door, textbooks covering the table, and tomorrow's match sitting right beside tomorrow's exam. Then, in 2019 came a remarkable double celebration. Just hours before playing in the European Under-21 Championship final, Mikel discovered that he'd passed his final university exam. He had completed the 4-year degree on schedule, whilst balancing his football career in the background. That weekend, Mikel did not just return home with one massive achievement, but a double one. In October 2015, the door to La Liga finally opened. All the work he'd been putting in, it had come to fruition. At just 18 years old, Mikel was sent onto the pitch by the then Scottish manager, David Moyes. I'm sure you've heard of him. They got a victory away at Levante. A few months later, his first league goal arrived against Espanyol. Then came 2 more against Granada, but on the 9th of April 2006, the noise became thunder. Barcelona had arrived at Real Sociedad Stadium with a team filled with global superstars. But within 5 minutes, a cross came into the box, stuck his head on it, and it hit the back of the net. The stadium exploded. Blue and white scarves whipped through the air as Real Sociedad held on to a 1-0 win. The quiet boy from Eibar hadn't just defeated Barcelona. Now all of Spain knew his name, especially the Barca fans. And on the 3rd of April 2021, Mikel walked into the greatest night of his club career. Real Sociedad faced their fierce Basque Country rivals, Athletic Club, in the Copa del Rey final. The match had been delayed for almost a year because of the blooming pandemic. And when it finally arrived in Seville, the enormous stands were almost completely empty. Rain lashed down, lightning flashed, thunder crashed above the thousands of silent seats. Then, in the second half, Real Sociedad won a penalty. Mikel placed the ball on the spot, he stepped back, he took one big breath, he made his decision, and he went for it. And, of course, he scored. The goalkeeper, Unai Simon, went one way, the ball went the other. It was a cracker. Real Sociedad held on to a 1-0 win, and Mikel had scored the goal in the Copa del Rey final, ending the club's 34-year wait for a major trophy. What a moment. There were no supporters inside due to the pandemic, but back home an entire region erupted. But while Mikel was becoming the heartbeat of Real Sociedad, another shirt was beginning to call his name, the red shirt of Spain. His senior debut arrived in May 2016, when the 19-year-old came off the bench during a 3-1 victory over Bosnia. 3 years later, he helped Spain win the European Under-21 Championships, defeating Germany in the final. Only weeks earlier, beneath the blazing lights of the Santiago Bernabeu, Mikel had scored his first senior international goal. The ball rolled towards his left foot, one touch, a curling strike beyond the Swedish goalkeeper and into the top bins. What a moment for Mikel. Then came the Tokyo Olympics in 2021, which was meant to be happening in 2020. Spain reached the gold medal match against Brazil, where Mikel smashed home an equaliser before Brazil eventually won 2-1 after extra time. Mikel returned with a silver medal, but his greatest moment in red was still waiting. Before Mikel could experience his greatest moment in red, football brought him crashing to the ground, because that is what happens in life. It's not always smooth, there will almost always be rough, and there will almost always be smooth. That is just what most people's journeys are like. In March 2022, during a training session, he twisted his knee. The diagnosis was every footballer's nightmare. He had torn a crucial ligament. One ordinary training session had changed absolutely everything. There would be surgery, rehabilitation, and months spent watching football instead of playing it. Worst of all, the injury meant Mikel missed the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. The doctors told him he may well play in 9 months, but the knee would take around 2 years before it felt completely right. These were painful days, weeks and months. Frightening thoughts, quiet moments where he wondered what sort of footballer he would be when he eventually returned. Then came the 14th of July 2024. The European Championship final, Spain against England. That morning, Mikel sat with some of his Real Sociedad teammates and Spanish teammates, and they believed that he would score. They had a feeling that he would do it. He would hit the back of the net and possibly score the winner for Spain. The match was locked in at 1-1. Mikel came onto the pitch. The clock reached 86 minutes. Marc Cucurella raced down the left. Mikel saw him go and began his run. The timing was impeccable. The cross flashed across the grass. Mikel stretched, he got a touch to the ball, and he went past the keeper Jordan Pickford. He sprinted towards the corner, his fist clenched, face roaring with everything he'd carried. The operation, the empty months, the missing the World Cup feeling, the pain, the doubt and everything else which he'd been through. Spain won that day 2-1 and became European champions for a record 4th time. Afterwards, with his family watching and his Real Sociedad friends beside him, Mikel carefully kept his shirt and the match ball. The man who had feared he may never return to being the player that he thought he could go on to be, had just scored the winner in a Euros final. Unbelievable. 2 years after Mikel's boot touched that cross in Berlin, another great adventure began. And to be completely clear, this episode was written and is being recorded on Friday the 17th of July 2026. The World Cup final has not happened yet. Spain's journey began with a shot goalless draw against Cape Verde, but then the machine began to roar. It got switched on. Against Saudi Arabia, Mikel Oyarzabal scored twice and helped create another in a thumping 4-0 victory. In the knockout rounds, he scored twice more as Spain swept aside Austria. Then came nerve-shredding victories over Portugal and Belgium. Spain bent, battled and somehow kept marching on. And in the semi-final against France, the ball was placed on the penalty spot. A World Cup final waited on the other side of that kick. Mikel stuck the ball on the spot, he ran forward and he buried it. Spain won 2-0. Mikel had scored his 5th goal of the tournament, sending his country into their first World Cup final since 2010. So, as these words are being recorded, Spain are preparing to face Argentina at the New York, New Jersey Stadium. The boy from Eibar is now 1 match away from becoming a world champion. And hey, maybe by the time you're listening to this, he may well be a world champion. Regardless, he's been a major part of them getting there. So from the clanging factories of Eibar to the greatest stadiums on earth, Mikel Oyarzabal has shown us that dreams do not always arrive with fireworks. They often arrive quietly and take a very long time to arrive too. In classrooms, on training pitches, through injury, setbacks, lonely rehabilitation sessions and moments where giving up would have been far easier than carrying on. Mikel has never been the loudest. He did not need to tell the world how special he was. He just showed the world how special he was. With loyalty, with courage, with hard work, and with one enormous size 12 boot stretching towards a football when the country needed him most. So remember this, you do not have to be the biggest voice in the room to make the biggest difference. Study hard, work harder, stay kind, and keep going when the road becomes steep. Because in life the road will become steep, but you've got this. Just keep going on. Because somewhere ahead, your moment will be waiting. Stand tall, tie your laces, and go out there with size 12 confidence, ready to leave your enormous footprints upon the world. And remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly, or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time. Oh, and before you go, it's time to discover how closely you are actually listening. So, I've got 5 questions, 5 chances for you to prove to yourself that your football brain is every bit as sharp as Mikel's left foot. This is something which is going to be happening on Football for Kids as things go forward in the future. So get ready. Question number 1. Before the packed stadiums, flashing cameras and enormous finals, Mikel grew up among some steep streets, rattling machinery and busy workshops. But what was the name of the place where Mikel Oyarzabal was born? Can you remember? Right, question 2. Long before football completely captured his heart, Mikel did 2 other sports. Can you remember what they were? Question number 3. Mikel's enormous boot earned him a nickname of Bigfoot, but in the UK side, can you remember how big his feet are? Question number 4. In April 2016, Mikel rose into the air and powered a header into the net as blue and white scarves exploded around the stadium. Which world-famous team did Real Sociedad beat 1-0 that day? And the fifth and final question. In the 86th minute of the Euro 2024 final, Marc Cucurella fired a low cross towards Mikel. What happened next? Okay, answer number 1. What town did he grow up in? If you said Eibar, then you would be correct. Answer number 2. Which 2 sports did Mikel do before he really got going with his football? The answers are judo and swimming. Question number 3 was, Mikel has got himself the nickname of Bigfoot because of his UK size feet. What size are his feet in the UK size? If you said a UK size 12, you would be correct. Question number 4. Mikel rose into the air and powered a header into the net as blue and white scarves exploded around the stadium. Which team did he score that goal against? If you said Barcelona, that is the correct answer. And the fifth and final question. In the 86th minute of the Euro 2024 final, Marc Cucurella fired a low cross towards Mikel. What did he do? He stretched out his boot and he turned the ball beyond Jordan Pickford and scored the winning goal as Spain beat England. How many did you get out of 5? If you're listening on Spotify, you can let me know in the comment section where you can respond to the episode. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, then why not leave a 5-star review and let me know which ones you got right.